Good evening, race fans, and welcome to the season finale for Psgl F1, and we are here at the spectacular Suzuka International Circuit for the Japanese Grand Prix. And well, after 13 rounds, here we are. After all the hours of practice, the blood, the sweat and the tears, we have a title decider on our hands once again. Like last season at Abu Dhabi, that four-way title decider won by Jamie, and tonight we have another one. Ashbest versus Cliffy, the race for the title, the showdown at Suzuka. So a warm welcome to everyone who has already joined the chat. We have the likes of Ashbest, who of course will have the team radio with the stream on, of course. Chullo, I see Iran there as well, JPTV, and I'm sure we'll have other people joining shortly. We were to have a pre-show tonight, but unfortunately due to technical difficulties with my commentary partner's internet, we were unable to broadcast that. A real shame, because we had some nice plans for that, including some interviews with the two title contenders, but sadly it is what it is. But we are going to bring you the best of the racing action tonight, only on GamingAlimonda. So Suzuka, one of the most legendary tracks on the F1 calendar, the only figure of 8 circuit, the scene of many title deciders in real life, particularly the likes of Ayrton Senna and Alan Prost's infamous clashes in 1989 and 1990. And of course Damon Hill winning in 96, Michael Schumacher stalling on the grid in 1998, which was one of the main reasons Mika Häkkinen got his first championship, and of course a year later when he saw off Eddie Irvine to win the second of his titles. And a few years later, of course, Kimi Räikkönen's amazing overtake around the outside to win this race. So let's have a quick look at the championship standings. You've probably seen them already many times on the official Psgl Twitter accounts, but I'm going to remind you of this. Cliffy leads the standings on 127 points, a 4-point advantage to Ashbest in second place. Now remember, with Ashbest winning 6 races this season to Cliffy's 3, this championship cannot end on a tie. If Ashbest wins this race, he will be the champion regardless of what Cliffy does. So Cliffy, in all honesty, will need to finish ahead of Ashbest realistically to be the champion, because if he cannot afford to finish second to Ashbest as he has done in recent races, he's going to have to find a way to beat the most informed driver in the division right now. So just having a quick look at the chat as well. So we have CC Brain, he's joined. Good to see you. We've got 15 watching already. Fantastic. Really hope you enjoy the action tonight. If you do, please leave a like on the video. Really would appreciate that. So going to give you my usual F1 teaser during qualifying, so get ready for that. So of course the Constructors' Championship already over, so a big congratulations to Cliffy and MaxiLuca for winning the Constructors' Championship. 175 points. They're on a brilliant season from the Silver Arrows. And there is still a bit of a battle for second place. Haas and McLaren. There's a 13-point gap between the two teams, but although Haas look the favourites to take second place. Force Ninja in 4th on 111. They've got a little battle with Ferrari for 4th place. Ferrari can't finish lower than 5th now. And there's a 5-point gap between Williams and Sauber in the battle to avoid the wooden spoon. So watch out for the likes of JD, HELLBOY and Lordy Boy as they try and avoid being the worst team in the division this season. Of course, Lordy Boy handicapped by the fact that he is the only driver at Sauber now after Greeny disappeared. It's sad that Greeny can't be with me right now, but due to the slipstream glitch, we don't want to risk Sky dying on him and then him disconnecting, and then you know what happens next after that, unfortunately, thanks to #Codemasters. So we are about to go, so I'm going to select spectator. I've got 20 watching now, so let's have a look. Let's see who is in here tonight. So it is also the last race in this division for several drivers. Nick Pine, I believe, and Iran, who announced previously that he will not be racing in this division from next season. He will be going to F4. Nick Pine, I'm not sure where he's going, but you know, both of them have had really good performances in F1 and they're top blokes as well. So I wish them all the best for their racing next season, wherever they may be. So we're going to have the usual 12-minute qualifying session, followed by the 50% race of this brilliant Suzuka circuit. One of the best tracks, 5.8 kilometer, 18 turns. I can't wait. I mean, it's whatever your opinion about this track, you cannot doubt that it has some of the best corners in the sport. It really tests you to your limit. The S-bend section in Sector 1, critical to a good lap time around here. If you compromise yourself at the S's, recovering the time is very, very difficult. And you have the 2 Degner turns, and then the hairpin, then of course Spoon Curve, and then 130R, one of the most satisfying corners in all of Formula 1. Then that infamous chicane where Prost and Senna hit each other in 1989 before going onto the main straight, which will offer one of the main overtaking opportunities. Only one DRS zone on this particular track, being the main straight. So, predictions for who's your money on to take the championship? I really want to know in the chat. Leave your comments here, and perhaps maybe a prediction for a race winner, because don't forget, even though his championship bid is over, Lewis W03 for the Haas team is really impressed, and he is certainly someone to keep an eye out on for the future. Next season he is certainly one of the contenders for the title if he carries on such form. And well, it looks like we are split 50-50 so far from the comments, so it's a very there's not support one or the other overall judging so far. But I think you will agree that either way, whoever wins the championship will be more than a worthy champion. Both have dominated the championship at various times this season, and we look at that, the 30 seconds. It's been quite a relaxed F1 chat, a bit of mind games, but it's not. There doesn't seem to be much nerves from Ashbest or Cliffy on the face of it. So they are both confident of taking this championship tonight, and why not? Cliffy dominated the first half of the season, Ashbest dominated the other half, and that's why we have a title battle for the second time in the F1 2017 era. And this is what we want. We always want the championship to go all the way to the end. It's the best thrill for the fans. And this splendid Ferris wheel, one of the iconic features of this circuit. Beautiful country, Japan. A country I definitely would love to visit one day. So, for the last time this season, we have the old loading screen. Incidentally, the next PSGL season will be on May 7th for PSGL F1. So get that note in your diaries, because we will go racing then. But we'll have a well-earned break for the grids and myself. I can rest my voice for a few weeks, at least for PSGL. I've got other leagues that are going to go on. Thanks to your support, got attention from other leagues, so really appreciate all your kind words on my broadcasts over this. This is my second full season in Formula 1, can't believe that already, for this particular PSGL, and it's been fantastic, I have to say that. So then, I actually managed to fix my Samsung tablet, so I can actually have the stream running on another screen, and I can actually see the chat, and it's not, the text isn't the size of a full stop, so this makes it so much easier. Here we go, the old logo. And I don't know about you, but even though I don't like the full theme tune, the new theme tune Formula 1, the actual short sort of intro they do for the race now gets me really pumped up. I really like that. I don't like all the changes Liberty Media have done, but I really like that intro. So, overcast skies then above the Suzuka circuit. I wonder if we'll get some sort of early rain. We had a couple of sessions like that this season. I think China, it was one where the rain fell straight away, giving us quite a mixed up grid. Well then, Cliffy and Ashbest, this is the most important qualifying session of the season, and perhaps of their entire PSGL careers. Will Ashbest make his customary dash out of the pits to be first? Let's select him and see what happens. Super soft tyres, super softs, softs and mediums, the available dry compounds, and here comes Ashbest. Will he be first out of the garage? And yes, it looks like he's going to be. I don't know how he does it. He has one trigger finger. And indeed, here he goes. So it looks like, according to our resident weathermen, it's going to be rain in the race. So very interesting indeed. Will we get any dry running during the race, I wonder? Well, if it's going to be rain to start with, no worries about tyre wear. They're going to do multiple laps with these sets of tyres. So far Ashbest and JD and Lawley Boy, the only ones venturing out onto the pit. So the others sort of taking their time. Oogie Azeem emerging as well. So we'll keep an eye on Ashbest. He's got a nice empty track to himself right now, and he'll be collecting his thoughts right now. Just thinking, okay, going to do my lap, going to get my tyres warm, and then I'm going to go on a flying lap and set a benchmark, and then say to the rest of the grid, beat that. We shall certainly see if that's the case. What about his championship rider Cliffy? No, Cliffy doesn't often come out straight away, I find, in terms of his Psgl F1 races. He kind of tweaks the settings a little bit more. So Cliffy will come out in a bit. So just over 10 minutes of the session to go. I really hope in the next game we have more options in terms of qualifying length, because I would like to see a little bit more time, maybe like 15 minutes, because I think it would just give us a chance to see more qualifying runs on certain tracks. Japan, not the longest circuit, so 2 runs should be very easy. So we'll stick with Ashbest, as he is one of the title runners. Cliffy emerges from the pit lane then, so he's on his out lap. So Ashbest then, starting a lap of Suzuka, one of the greatest circuits in Formula 1. Flying down the home straight, the only DRS zone on the circuit. You see the wing open at the back, giving him the drag reduction system, that extra speed. Ooh, Ashbest taking a lot of speed into the opening curve, and then through the S's. A fantastic section. When you get this right, it's one of the most satisfying feelings in the game, because there is so much slight braking, throttle modulation involved. You have to get it so right. Struggling a little bit for rear grip, but he just about gets through it. Not a lot of grip on the track at the moment, being the first out. That is the disadvantage, of course, when you go out first. You have an empty track, yes, but you don't have as much grip yet as the track evolves, with the rubber being laid down by the other racers. So, through the hairpin goes Ashbest, so heading towards the Spoon Curve, where Damon Hill crashed in 1995, handing the title to Michael Schumacher, his second at Benetton. Round the Spoon Curve he goes, doesn't want to take too much curve on the outside. That's a pretty solid Spoon Curve, I have to say. And now, building the speed up the hill, heading towards 130R, named so because of the angle of the corner, although actually, because of redesigns in the last decade, it's not really 130R anymore, but the name sticks. Then heading down to the chicane. That chicane, as I mentioned earlier, where Prost and Senna collided previously. So what sort of time is this going to be? Heading towards the line. And Ashbest crosses the line, and it's a 128.578. That's a very decent benchmark. So who else is out there? Let's have a look. Pine in his last session in Formula 1. Big C. He has won at this race previously. JD sets a 128.904. 4 tenths of Ashbest. That is not a bad effort from him. So let's stick on board with Big C. He's got a good record at this track. He has won here previously. I'm just going to check how many times has he won here previously, just for an interesting stat. He has won here 3 times in the past, although it's been quite a while since he had some. Last time he won here was back in season 10. So what Big C's going to do? Oh, a bit of grass on the left, and he goes second, just under 3 tenths. Now, where is Cliffy? We need to see what he's doing, because that is the critical thing. Watch out for Lewis as well. He's had great qualifying pace all season. So Cliffy heading up to the line. XJackLacey, look at that, less than a tenth for Force India behind Ashbest. Just want to see where Lewis is, and then I'll switch back to Cliffy. Oh, and Lewis back into the pits, so he must have invalidated somewhere. So what is Cliffy going to do? What is his response to Ashbest at this early stage of the qualifying session? To the line he goes. Look at that, right behind Ashbest, and it's less than 0.40 of a second. Wow. And Little Blocks, look at that, 128.2, and he's gone nearly 4 tenths quicker than the 2 title contenders. So Little Blocks, we have seen this at times this season. Little Blocks having great qualifying pace, and the 2 Haas drivers have shown such good one-lap pace that if they can jump Ashbest and Cliffy, then there could be a Haas wall in the way of the title rivals here. And look at Cliffy flying through the Degners and just about gets it slowed down for the second pair of it. And then up to the hairpin. This, judging by the speed Cliffy's taking, I think he's going for 2 runs here, but it's not going to leave him much time to get back to the pits. Or maybe he's just sort of building himself up for another run. Oh, a lot of traffic here. And they get out of the way, thankfully. Good driving from them. We don't want any controversies before the race even begins. So at the moment, Big C in the top 5, and who else? Oh, and XJackLacey has gone above, so he's done his second run, and he has jumped ahead. He improved by over 2 tenths of a second. So into second goes XJackLacey, the former Psgl F1 champion, perhaps wanting to end the season with a little bit of a statement. And Cliffy, 1.4 seconds down. I'd be very surprised to finish this lap. Yep, into the pits comes Cliffy. To be honest, he would be pushing it for time to get out onto track. And there's Maxi in the pit lane. So Maxi in 9th at the moment, his teammate, the reigning Constructors champions now, Maxi and Cliffy for Mercedes. So the Silver Arrows having a brilliant season. XJackLacey, incidentally, a former winner of this race as well, back in the 17th season of this particular division. So just having a quick look at the chat. If you want to ask any questions, please put them down there. Put a hashtag AskVenom and I will try and answer them when I can. So just trying to think what my teaser was for F1 as we enter the last 5 minutes. It's a bit of a lull as the final runs prepare. Let's keep an eye on Lewis actually. Lewis heading towards the Spoon curve. Actually, I think given the circumstances, I think we're going to forget the teaser, because this man right here is arguably, in terms of 1 lap pace in qualifying, has been the most impressive since joining the division. And if anyone could run interference in this title battle, it'll be someone who has a point to prove. He, for so long, was in the title battle, but then at Mexico his dream was ended with that dramatic last minute crash. Oh, and Lewis loses the back end in the chicane. No traction at all, no super softs, and he pits again. So Lewis at the moment not doing it. A bit of commentators cursed there. So everyone in the pit lane. Maxi coming out from Mercedes, a nice empty track for him. So right now, what must Ashbest and Cliffy be thinking? What do they have to do to improve to get on the front row? They're going to find a lot of time. Nickel blocks, that's a fantastic time from him. You know, Ashbest and Cliffy have got to find the best part of 4/10 to get into pole position. It's possible. The track is ever evolving. But given the dark skies, if it were to rain right now, then Liquor would be in pole position. So HELLBOY currently running in a decent 10th place. Iran in his final F1 race, currently 11th. Joel, his teammate, in 8th place. So Lewis and Lordy Boy, the only two who have yet to set a time. So just over 3 minutes session left, but the likes of Lickle, Ashbest, XJackLacey and Cliffy will all be flying out of the pit lane very shortly. So we're just looking at the McLaren, any activity from McLaren or Mercedes, the 2 title rivals. Are they coming out of the garage? No, not at the moment. So we've got 29 watching for qualifying. Really appreciate that, guys. I hope this is a race to remember for whatever reason. Title deciders. And actually, this is the first time I've ever commentated on a title decider when it wasn't at Abu Dhabi, so this is all new for me as well. Not that Abu Dhabi is a bad track for title deciders. We've seen some unbelievable ones over the years in Psgl. But Japan, there's something special about having a title decider at Japan. It's the tradition of it, because it used to be for many years in Formula 1 the title decider, of course, and the final race of the season. Getting up really early at night as a young boy, watching the likes of Schumacher, Hakkinen, Hill, and all those others in the 90s, when Japan was always the last race of the season. So then Cliffy comes out, as does Ashbest. Oh, there. So Cliffy just ahead of Ashbest. They're in the same section of track. It doesn't get much more dramatic than this. And we have 31 watching, and that means we have broken the record for the most watched Psgl F1 race on this channel. Thank you very much, guys. That is awesome. Okay, back to the on-track action we go. If only for a second. So Ashbest, Cliffy, but XJackLacey, he'll be wanting to end the season on a high. Maxi moving out the way, so he must have made a mistake on this lap. Where is Lickle? Lickle is behind them. So XJackLacey will be first, and Ashbest has slowed down, and look at that. Ashbest and Cliffy right next to each other on the track. Are they going to give each other room, or is Ashbest just going to, block him off? But look, Cliffy wisely backing off as well. Bit of mind games going. Bit of mind games going from the 2 title rivals, I think. So XJackLacey will be the first of the top 4, but let's not count out the likes of Shortbread, Big C, who on their day, especially in Big C's case, can certainly challenge for pole position. But Lewis, he is the unknown quantity. He's had a poor qualifying so far, one of his poorest sessions of the season, in fact. So don't be surprised if Lewis suddenly pulls out a blinder, and he is actually on a flying lap. So let's keep an eye on Lewis first. XJackLacey is next on track, then Ashbest, Cliffy and Lickle behind him. So Lewis will be the trigger for the final part of this qualifying. Less than 15 seconds of this section to go before it finishes. And Lickle Block sets a 1:27.925, so he was on a flying lap. Didn't actually say on his screen he was, but he's now half a second quicker than XJackLacey. Wow. I better check that no one else is on a lap right now. Okay. Yeah, they're definitely on flying laps. So Lickle with a stunning lap into the 27s. Can anyone get close to that at all? Into the chicane goes Lewis, the Haas teammate of Lickle. So heading towards the line. Can Lewis take it away from his teammate? He does! A 1:27.575. An absolutely extraordinary lap. But can Ashbest or Cliffy go even better? Into the mid-27s. The Haas team. Not for the first time this season, locking out the front row right now. HELLBOY retires from the session. He's in 6th. That's an impressive lap from HELLBOY. Big C, let's have a quick look. Is Big C near the end of the lap? Yes, he is. Big C heading towards the line. What is he going to do? We'll switch straight back to Ashbest. Big C goes 4th. How often does Big C nearly 7/10 off the pole time? Not in recent PSGL history. Just goes to show what pace. And Shortbread out qualifies his teammate. Ashbest into the chicane, and Cliffy is right behind him. So where is Ashbest going to end up? He's currently 6th, but can he take pole position? It would be an extraordinary lap if he does it. He crosses the line and he doesn't improve. What about Cliffy? Cliffy doesn't improve either. 6th and 7th, so Ashbest and Cliffy will start alongside each other on the grid, but they're only 6th and 7th. Who would have predicted that? And XJackLacey splits the Haas cars right to the death. So Lewis takes pole position, XJackLacey in 2nd, Lickle back in the pits 3rd. Wow. Wow. I don't think anyone expected that from the 2 title contenders. So here we are then. Here's the final grid of the PSGL F1 season. Lewis, XJackLacey, the front row, Lickle and Shortbread, row 2, row 3, Big C, the 7-time champion, and Ashbest, Cliffy in 7th, HELLBOY in 8th, AMS in 9th, and JD makes up the top 10. The 2 Renaults make up row 6, MaxiLuca and Oogie, Paudie, Ladyboy, and Nick Pine in his final F1 race will start at the back. Fresh tyres. Oh yes, of course, it's going to be rain apparently, according to Ashbest. And now we've got over 40 watching. Wow. This is what title deciders do. I think if this was not a title decider, I don't think we'd have this many people watching. So thank you very much, guys. And here we go. The tension ramps up. What must Ashbest and Cliffy be thinking right now? Their qualifying has not been ideal, but Ashbest, we saw at Belgium how amazing his wet pace was, but he's got to get through. He's got to get overtaking done. Because if he finishes 6th and Cliffy 7th, that will not be enough points for Ashbest to win the championship. He's got to get 4 points on Cliffy to win the championship, to tie the table, but take it on countback in terms of victories. So Cliffy's tactic, I'm sure, will be simply to keep Ashbest right in front of him and do whatever he does, if he can. Cliffy's wet weather pace at Belgium, as an example, was not great. He finished a long way behind Ashbest, but this is an entirely different track. This is Suzuka, and we're about to go racing for the final time this season. Hold on to your hats. I hope you got your popcorn ready, because we have the 5 red lights. Watch out for Lewis, XJackLacey and Lickle, and 2 Ferraris. 5 red lights. Lights down, away we go. Slight delay. It's a poor start from Lickle behind, and that will give Shortbread a jump on him. Look out for the 2 title contenders in 6th and 7th. Will anything happen to them? Lewis sweeps into the lead. XJackLacey gets in 2nd place, but let's go behind and see what's going on. Has anything happened to the title contenders? Cliffy has lost a place. Cliffy has lost a place. No damage on him though, but he is behind the Ferrari. Is that Big C? Yes it is. Big C's had a poor start. So Ashbest is up into 5th position. But there's a long way to go. It's a pretty clean start given the difficulties. And now Cliffy. Cliffy having a little move on Big C, or at least having a look. And Nick Pine is out of the race. That's a terrible final race for him. Oh, Nick Pine's left the session. Wow, he clearly didn't listen. But in the rain, the slipstream glitch really doesn't matter. Ashbest having a little look at Shortbread. And Cliffy dives down the inside of Big C, taking no prisoners, not showing much respect to the 7-time champion, but he's got a title to win, so he's got no choice. He's got to go aggressive. He can't be Valtteri Bottas at Bahrain. He's got to go for it. And going off track, is that Shortbread? Yes, Shortbread in the other Ferrari going wide, and Ashbest has gained another place, so he's got 8 points. Cliffy has 5, but that isn't enough for Ashbest as it stands. So the two title contenders making their way through the field. So at the moment, let's have a look at Lewis. I'm going to try and not flick too much, but there's so much going on. Everybody on heavy wet tyres, of course. Lewis cut the corner there, he might have got a warning. JackLacey second, Lickle just behind. Ashbest is up to 4th. Oh, and Shortbread spins. Oh, shocking. Oh, and that is the weakest contact you'll ever see off the wall. Shortbread is out of the race. That was comically. Oh, and Lewis flying through the turn 1. Goes all out of shape at turn 1. Ashbest is up to 3rd. He's just past Lickle. Ashbest in the podium. He's showing his wet weather prowess once again. So JackLacey closing on to Lewis. Lewis had a massive moment at turn 1. He managed to keep it on track. But Ashbest now, he is going for it. Cliffy still in 5th position. So at the moment, it's 10 points for Ashbest and only 6 for Cliffy. So at the moment, Ashbest is on course to win the championship in terms of the points and the countback for his superior win record. So Cliffy must get past Lickle. He has to get past him. We're only on lap 2 of 7, but Ashbest being caught by Lickle again. But don't forget, the battles at the front could swing this anyway. So Ashbest, his mission now will be to try and hold off Lickle and then get past the Force India of JackLacey and the ever quick Lewis W03, a multiple race winner this season. Wow, just allow me to catch my breath for a second. There's no love lost between Lickle and Ashbest as we've seen this season, but if Ashbest can get the hammer down in terms of his wet weather pace, he will certainly get away from him. So JackLacey right onto the back of the Haas of Lewis. And meanwhile Cliffy is slowly catching up to Lickle as JackLacey sets the fastest lap with the lack of safety. And look at that, Cliffy setting excellent pace there early on. 2-second gap between JackLacey and Ashbest at this stage. Oof. Ashbest struggling a little for traction. It could come down to one mistake, ladies and gentlemen, just one mistake, and that could be it for Ashbest or Cliffy. But Lewis holding off the Force India for now. We saw this at Silverstone. Lewis had to hold off JackLacey lap after lap, and he managed to do it all. JackLacey going offline. He doesn't want to do that as they go through the Degners for the 3rd time. No DRS, of course, in these heavy rain conditions. So Lewis has somewhat recovered from that moment at turn 1 earlier on. He's starting to settle down a bit. So Ashbest has cut 4 tenths off these two. Now what about Cliffy? Let's keep an eye on Cliffy. Cliffy now is beginning to catch Lickle, and Lickle runs onto the grass. That's going to compromise his traction. Cliffy though, he's got plenty of laps. He doesn't want to do some ludicrous move. He's got to be careful. He cannot do a do or die this early, because if he does, he could risk ring damage, and that would end his championship. Oh, Lickle runs wide. But Cliffy, perhaps in normal circumstances, would have gone for it, but he knows that Lickle, if he swings across, oh, is Cliffy going to risk it all with a move at 130? Oh my goodness, I think he is. It's a terrible camera angle, and he sweeps round Lickle to take 4th place. Unbelievable move. Lickle had no grip at 130R, had to back off. And Cliffy now moves within 2 points of Ashbest. In terms of the title, this is dramatic stuff, to say the least. Only a 2-point difference now in terms of the on-track positions. It's got time to catch up to Ashbest though. It's going to have to go for it. So right now, JackLacey still trying to catch Lewis. Ashbest, the gap is sort of maintained at 1.6 seconds between 2nd and 3rd place drivers. Bit of wing off track. Just having a look at the rest of the order, they're all pretty close. Nobody's had to make a first lap pit stop. I think that piece of wing off track must have been Nick Pine, so he must have lost it in the S's in these tricky conditions. It's a sad end to his PSGL F1 career for now, so but I wish Nick Pine all the best for his future racing. He's a cracking bloke. So Ashbest, Cliffy, 2.3 seconds behind, but does he have the pace to catch up to Ashbest? And more importantly, does he have the pace to hold off Lickle? He's had a mixed race. When he's actually settled, he's looked quick, but he's made some individual errors. Big C in 6th, going well. Any other battles on track? What about, yeah, HELLBOY? He's in 8th place. That'd be a great result. Williams 8th and 9th, so they're winning the battle to avoid the wooden spoon right now in terms of the Constructors' Championship. Williams, of course, going far better in this race than they did at Bahrain in real life, so hopefully they don't finish last. Points, something that Claire Williams could only dream of right now. So going back to the front then, Lewis starting to eke out just a little bit of an advantage, only just over a second, but he can't relax at all. Ashbest is not exactly pulling these guys in, but he's 1.5 seconds. Lewis now is beginning to put the pace down a little bit. Fastest lap of the race, 1:45.342. We are expecting light rain later on, so we should get one pit stop at least in this race. Oh, XJackLacey, you see the back end, that was more Colin McRae going around turn 1 and 2 there. Big drift, but you know, it didn't cost XJackLacey too much time. Look at that, Lewis running really wide in the S's. And it looks like JD, oh, what's happened to HELLBOY? Has HELLBOY lost it somewhere? Let's have a look. Well, HELLBOY's had an incident at turn 1 by the looks of it, and he's lost 3 places to JD, AMS and Iran into the points in his final PSGL F1 race for the time being. He'll be racing in F4, so get your diary for Sunday nights if you want to see more of Iran, the former 3-time PSGL F1 champion. Big C, we'll just have a look at him for a minute. He's actually beginning to catch up to Lickle, so you know, don't rule out Big C from getting onto the podium and maybe running a bit of interference in this championship battle. But just to remind you, as we lap 5 of this race, Ashbest, he needs 2nd right now, because 2-point difference between 3rd and 4th, 10 for Ash and 8 for Cliffy, is not enough for him to take the PSGL F1 championship. He's 1.8 seconds now behind XJackLacey. Cliffy has actually taken half a second out of him from the last lap and a half. Neither of them have got penalties yet, so it is decided on track. Lickle once again struggling for grip, and he's beginning to fall into the clutches of Big C's Ferrari. Let's see how he deals with the chicane and how close will Big C get on the brakes. It's actually been one of Big C's better weather performances so far this season. As some other races he's had no real pace in the rain, but he's definitely having one of his better showings here today. He looks like he's got pretty decent pace out there. Not the quickest, but he's certainly one of the quickest going in terms of the field. Lickle Blocks has dropped really back behind Cliffy now. Oh, and Lickle goes wide. He goes really wide. And that's going to be an easy move, and Lickle gets a 3-second time penalty for extending. Bit harsh from the race control because he wasn't exactly gaining time, but Lickle loses a place. He had a great qualifying session, getting up to 3rd place, but yeah, he's just not handling the rain very well. So Big C up to 5th place. Let's have a look at the front runners once again. We may not see too much of the midfield today because I'm focusing entirely, if I can, on the battle for the championship. So let's do a race order here. Lewis, XJackLacey, Ashbest, Cliffy, Big C, Lickle Blocks, MaxiLuca, JD, AMS and Iran make up the top 10. HELLBOY is closing back onto Iran to try and get back into the points. Let's have given the gaps, let's have a quick look at Oogie Azeem, and he's in Force India. Didn't have the best qualifying session, which is strange for him because he used to qualify so well. Now he's looking for a move up the inside of Joel's Renault, battling for pride here, if not points. And then Paudie right behind both of them. Incidentally, usually you would see Skeevan racing Toro Rosso, but because of his consistent transmission failures, Toro Rosso decided not to run the car today, in case he disconnected for the slipstream glitch and all that, which was of course rendered it obsolete when the likes of when Nick Pine left the session. I guess he might have gone. Oh, and MaxiLuca finishing the season as he started with a time penalty. He must have cut the final chicane, and look at that, Cliffy setting the oh, and I think it looks like Maxi has wing damage. JD pits as well. Oh, Maxi gets a stop and go Oh, it's gone all wrong for Mercedes. Not that it matters at this point. So back to the front. And it looks like Lewis has made a mistake and has lost the lead of the race. Sorry for missing that, but I was focusing on that. And now look at this. Ashbest and Cliffy right behind Lewis. The top three in the championship. I've switched to this at the right time. Lewis has got to defend from the two drivers who want to win the PSGL F1 champion. Who's going to take the most risk here? Through the Degners they go. And up to the hairpin, which is a really good overtaking opportunity. You can take them by surprise in the dry, much harder in the wet. Slightly uphill, so you have to get your braking spot on. So what Cliffy, if I was Cliffy, he's probably thinking, you know what, I'm just going to see what happens here. Lewis and Ashbest, there is no love lost between these two. We've seen a few incidents between them this season. XJackLacey then, 1.7 seconds ahead of Lewis, and he'll be thinking, okay, you just battle and I'll just run away and win this race. XJackLacey incidentally hasn't won a race, I believe, since his season when he won the championship back in F1 2016 era. So clearly Lewis struggling with the grip. Cliffy backing off. I think he's wisely just biding his time. He's clearly got the pace to keep up with Ashbest so far in this race. Oh, and Lewis pulls off into the pits. I wonder if he's got wing damage. We'll check in a second. So Ashbest and Cliffy, second and third. But again, that isn't enough for Ashbest. 12 points to Cliffy's 10. That just isn't enough. So what's happened to Lewis? Is that a wing change? No, it's a strategy change. Inter tyres. Is that why we had pit stops? Well, the rain looks lighter, so I tell you what. Yes, the rain does look lighter. Let's have a look at what tyres everybody's on. Inters for Big C as well. Lewis, Lickle Blocks. JD, HELLBOY. So wow, it's a big strategy call. Oh, and XJackLacey's gone off ahead. XJackLacey's gone off ahead. And Ashbest now leads the race, and he's in position to win the championship. This is what he needs. 4-point difference between first and second. This is a nightmare situation for Cliffy. He's now got to attack Ashbest and pass him. But they're going to be pitting for Inters at the end of this lap. I didn't expect the light rain so quickly, but here we have it. And XJackLacey has lost half of his wing. Ah, what a disaster. He took the lead and then it's all gone wrong for him. So Ashbest and Cliffy have got to nurture that car back to the pits. MaxiLucaGT gets another time penalty. He's on the wrong tyre right now by the looks of it. To the top two, they're going to pit at the same time. Will we see some sort of centre cross incident between these two? A Ferris wheel spinning. It's not really a good place to be right now, but a great view of the track, and they will both pit. No, Cliffy carries on. Cliffy carries on. Well, that is a call, and that could be a season defining call by the Mercedes team. Just looking at the pace of the Inter runners, well, Lewis is going to be the marker. He's struggling for grip, it has to be said. Will he? I don't think he's going to even beat Ashbest out the pit, to be honest with you. Oogie hasn't pitted. Ashbest comes out, so Ashbest comes out. So Lewis pitting a lap earlier did not work for him. So maybe Cliffy has made the right decision. We're going to find out in the next lap and a half. Well, I mean, if Cliffy has made the right choice. I tell you what, they're not really getting the grip down on those Inters. Did Ashbest react to Lewis more than Cliffy? But of course he was the lead car, so he had to make a decision. But they're not exactly going quick. We're going to find out. So it's a fairly short pit lane here. It's around 20 to 22 seconds time lost. It's borderline. It is so borderline. But let's have a look at Cliffy. What is Cliffy up to? Going through the spoon curve right now? Yeah, relatively smooth. It doesn't look too bad a line. Famous last words before he smashes it off at 130R. But Cliffy looks okay. You know, he's not exactly struggling for grip, but let's see how he deals with 130R, which is a difficult corner in the dry, let alone in the wets. And yet the grip, I think the cutoff is right now Oh, this is going to be so close. It's going to be so close. Cliffy's got to gain as much time in pit lane. He carries on. I don't believe that. He's carried on. But Ashbest isn't really gaining time. He's not really gaining time. On Paudie, it has to be said, the wets still seem okay. Oof, well, this is a tense situation. Cliffy's making the decision. Oogie pits then from second place. Paudie carries on. Let's see, what is the gap? Paudie, the gap between Ashbest and Paudie was about 3 seconds. Now it's 2.8, so I think the inters are starting to come now. I think Cliffy might have stayed out. Has he stayed out 1 lap too long? This is what we're about to find out. It is so marginal. It could be mere tenths when Cliffy comes out, because surely Cliffy's going to be pitting now. So in terms of the race order, Big C's maintained 5th. He's got out ahead of Lickle. Maxi in 7th, but he's on wet tyres still, so he'll have to pit again. XJackLacey in 8th. Oh, that mistake and that wing change, that's cost him so dearly. He was going so well in the first stint, but he made one mistake as the conditions began to change, and that's put him down to 8th place. Oogie running in 10th though, so he's made those wets work really well. So he, as ever, perhaps didn't have the best qualifying, but he's made the strategy work because he's leapt up to 10th place ahead of Iran and AMS and HELLBOY, so good work from him. So 2.5 seconds between Paudie and Ashbest, so it's about 21 seconds between Cliffy and Ashbest right now. So what is Cliffy going to do? He goes through the final chicane. It looks into conditions to me. Surely he's pitting. Cliffy, no, he carries on. He carries on. He's happy with these wet tyres. Ashbest, he probably knows Cliffy hasn't pitted yet. If he's listening to the stream, and he'll be hearing what's going on. Gap between Cliffy and Paudie increasing, and Paudie pits, so Maxi and Cliffy, the only 2 drivers left on the wets. Ashbest now, he's got to put the hammer down. 21.1 seconds between Cliffy and Ashbest. That is the gap. Let's see if Ashbest can eat into the time. Maxi carries on, incidentally. Paudie will come out somewhere outside the top 10, I'd imagine. But maybe not, because he went longer on the wets. But look at that, Lewis keeping a watching brief. Lewis, despite not being in this title battle, he could still play a huge role here. Lap 11 of this Psgl F1 Japanese Grand Prix. It is a fascinating situation. A tense situation for the 2 title rivals. Who has got the strategy right? But I don't think it's over in terms of the on-track battles, even if Cliffy comes out a second or so behind Ashbest. But my goodness, Ashbest now, he's got to put a lap on, but Lewis is catching Ashbest. He is catching him. The dream situation for Ashbest would be if he gets past Cliffy and Cliffy drops behind Lewis. That would be the dream situation for his championship. So he could maybe pull away. Oh, and Ashbest has slid wide though through the spoon curve. Has that cost him any time? It's less than 21 seconds now. Cliffy carries on again. I'm not sure what strategy he's looking for. Maybe. Is he trying to hold on for the dry conditions? Is that what his plan is? Because look, there's patches of blue sky emerging. Is there going to be dry running in this race? If he pulls this off, it is a masterstroke strategy, because he'll have an enormous advantage. And Ashbest, to be honest, is not really easing into the time. Wow. The fact that Cliffy has stayed out so long, I think, and not pitted the inters, I think that's what his plan is. And the other Mercedes has the same idea, I think. Paudie gets a 10-second time penalty. More than likely that's going to be the final chicane, outbraking himself, because that's one of the few areas you can get 10 seconds here. And well, the difference in time between Cliffy and Ashbest is not normal. Let's have a look at their fastest lap, incidentally. See if there's much difference. Fastest lap, a 1:45.289 and a 1:45.399 for Ashbest. So Ashbest has not gone faster than Cliffy on the inter tyres, as of yet. Well, Toto Wolff, he'll be passing his strategist on the back if this works out. And look, the rain is easing off more and more. as long as Cliffy can just keep it on the road, if the track dries out, and he can go onto the dry compounds, whichever that may be, he's going to have a huge advantage. But when that crossover to the dry goes, if it arrives, which I think it may well do, look at the sky, we're getting more patches of blue sky. Or will Cliffy pits? No, Cliffy pits, so maybe he didn't have the tyre life, but he's going to have fresher inters at the end of the race. If we get no, so into the pits comes Cliffy, the championship leader. Onto the inters he goes. Ashbest entering the final chicane. Cliffy extending the stint. We're about to find out if it's going to work out. He's heading towards the end of the pits. Ashbest on the final straight. We're going to stick on board of Ashbest to get the best possible view. Ashbest sets the fastest lap of the race right there. Where is Cliffy? Cliffy's right behind him. Oh, I think Cliffy stayed a lap too long, and what about... And he's behind Lewis! He's behind Lewis! Oh, I can't believe it! I can't believe it! And Joel is out of the race, so a sad end to the Renault driver season. So Cliffy to win the championship. And we haven't had any penalties for Lewis or Ash so far, or Cliffy. He's going to have to pass both of them to win the championship. The top three in the championship on lap 13. Within less than 2 seconds of each other. This is an extraordinary situation. It's going down to the wire just like it did at Abu Dhabi last season, where we had 4 drivers fighting for the championship, and right to the death. Gamer and Jamie and Big C were fighting it out, but this time we got 3 of the new generation of Psgl F1 2 of them looking for their first F1 title. Lewis now, he is the cheese in the sandwich. Can he hold off the Mercedes behind him, who has shown great pace all race? Cliffy will have much fresher tyres than either of them. He's got to get past Lewis first. No penalties at the moment. It is so tense. I am not checking penalties unless we see them pop up from race control. That's all I care about. Ashbest beginning to move a little gap out on Lewis. 1.3 seconds. Cliffy, for his championship, he's got to get past Lewis. Lewis clearly doesn't have the same wet weather pace as the 2 drivers he is battling right now. Ashbest sets a 1:44.819, and that was Cliffy, of course. That was on his out lap, so we'll see what sort of pace he has now on his first lap in anger, full lap in anger, so to speak. So Cliffy closing in onto the back of Lewis, as xJackLacey recovering from his earlier disappointment. He's now up to 6th. So let's get the intervals up. So xJackLacey closing in onto Lickle again. So that'll be a nice little battle, but I cannot take my eyes off this as they go up towards the Degner curves. Lap 14 of the Psgl F1 season finale here at Suzuka. It has been compelling. Oh, Lewis gets a time penalty. Lewis cut the first Degner, and that it's the first obstacle. But Cliffy now, he knows now he's got to get past Lewis still, because second place, if Ash gets no penalties, is not enough. Remember, Ashbest has 1 more races this season than Cliffy. So if Cliffy finishes second and Ashbest wins the race, they will be tied on points, but Ashbest will take it on callback. HELLBOY gets a time penalty, and Lewis struggling for grip through Spoon Curve, and this will allow Cliffy to close in as they run up to 130R for the 14th time in this race. Ashbest is not exactly getting away. He's lost time this lap actually. He's lost 0.8 of a second in fact to Lewis. Oh, this is incredible. The top 3 so close. Oh, Cliffy gets a 10-second time penalty for cutting the final chicane. I can't believe it. Well, that will surely be removed. I don't know. Well, anyway, has Cliffy just lost the title right there? That seems incredibly harsh for just a little corner cut there. I mean, he barely cut it. I mean, that's a warning, if anything. Maybe a 3-second time penalty if that was his 3rd warning. But yeah, 10 seconds for that. I don't think that's going to stick. But we're still going, and Lewis is now closing onto Ashbest. Who knows? They've got to keep going. Will we get any dry running, or is it going to be inters all the way to the end? Through the Degners they go. And according to some who know better than me, that will likely be removed after the race. But we're going to have to judge it as it is at the moment until that's all sorted out after the race. We're going to focus now. They are so close. Just over a second between the top three. You get the feeling something's going to happen. Something defining that may render these penalties irrelevant anyway. Because if that penalty is removed, Cliffy is still going to have to pass both these drivers to win the title. Meanwhile, back down the order, JackLacey is right on the back of little blocks now. In terms of the rest of JD, in a good 7th, but he's going to be under pressure from the likes of Oogie, Paudie, Iran, and AMS. They're all on the back of him. What can Lewis do? Lewis has nothing to lose compared to the other two, so he can afford to be a little bit more aggressive. As Ashbest and Lewis exchange fastest laps, Cliffy can't unleash the pace of those fresher tyres because he's stuck in the dirty air of that Haas. Ashbest runs wide. Where's Cliffy? Cliffy sort of just behind JackLacey. Well, 1:33.865. So it seems like the track is getting better. It's certainly getting more grip. It's drying out ever so slightly. Although we're nowhere near dry conditions at this stage. So Ashbest, he's probably never had this sort of pressure in any league race, let alone PSGL. Obviously had some tense times in F3, but this is a different level entirely. This is PSGL F1. Only the very best will take the title, excuse the pun. And look how close Lewis is getting now. Lewis will want to end the season on a high. He's had some great performances this season, and he will feel that he should have been involved in this title fight today, if not for a bit of bad luck. It would be his 3rd win of the season if he takes it, which would match Cliffy's win record this season, incidentally, if he does. So, in terms of the penalties, I would appreciate if someone messages me straight after the race what would happen with it, because we obviously want it confirmed as quickly as possible on this broadcast. That would be good. They both go over. Ridiculous 10 seconds for that anyway. So Ashbest sets the fast lap, 1:43.524. Even setups at the moment. Cliffy dropping back a little bit. It's that penalty weighing on his mind. Lewis has 3 seconds of penalty, so unless he passes Ashbest and gets away from him, he's not going to win this race. Cliffy's got to find something extra. He's got to find something extraordinary to get past these two drivers in front of him, who are both desperate for the win themselves. Ashbest especially. Ashbest a little bit around the Dunlop curve they go before the Degners. We're struggling for grip a little bit. Yellow in sector 1. Oh, it's a retirement. HELLBOY out of the race. Let's see what happened to him briefly before we go back to the front. That's not HELLBOY. Ah, he's lost it at turn 1. That's a strange place. He must have had a massive spin. Took too much speed. Let's go back to Ashbest. Top 3 as you were. So Ashbest starting to get away a little bit from Lewis. I do wonder if the slipstream is playing a part here. It's unfortunate that Pine left straight away because he knows about slipstream glitch. But, you know, we all do things in the heat at the moment. So Cliffy heading to the final corner, lap 17. He is beginning to run out of time. Is that sinking feeling in his stomach as his title rival begins to get away from him, along with the championship. A championship he has led for the majority of the season as JackLacey picks up another 10-second penalty. I dare say there'll be a few removals after this race, unless of course they have literally just flown straight over, not like a little cut we saw of Cliffy. Let's have a quick look at JackLacey actually. He's right on the back. Interesting camera view. Right on the back of the Haas driver. Are we going to see any movement here? Through the S as they go. Lickle has struggled in these wet conditions. He looks a bit better in the inters. Oh, is he going to go for some audacious move? Lickle, oh, he's so slow as they go up the Dunlop curve. XJackLacey just trying to force the less experienced Lickle into a mistake. To be fair to Lickle, he deals with the Degners nicely. So we roll up to the hairpin. Goes late on the brakes, but Lickle misses the apex a little bit, but it's not going to hurt him. Back to the front then. Lewis, about as close to Ashbest as ever been. A bit of a twitch of the back end, and I think this is going to be an opportunity, possibly for Lewis to attack Ashbest, or at least put him under pressure. The place is going to erupt if we see these two have any sort of contact, which would swing the championship back into Cliffy's favour. But hopefully... Oh, did you see that snap of oversteer from Ashbest, and he saves it. He saves it. He was moments from disaster, but he saves it. That was a heart in your mouth moment for the McLaren driver. Whew, that was close. As Lewis and Cliffy exchange fastest laps right after one another. And Ashbest, you get the sense, but don't forget, Cliffy did a lot less laps on those inters, so they're going to come into play. And is Ashbest beginning to struggle on these tyres a bit? And he's had to defend so much. He's not had a relaxing time. He's not been able to conserve tyres. He can't. He has to keep pushing, because if he doesn't, he's going to get overtaken. Even with the slipstream, you know, it's not as powerful as it should be, but it's less so in the wet in terms of that glitch. So Ashbest now defending once again from Lewis and Cliffy. XJackLacey still can't get past Lickle. In terms of the rest of the order, Iran has moved up to 9th, AMS in 10th, Laudeboy in 11th. So Williams looking very good to avoid the wooden spoon. In terms of the battle for the runners-up position, Haas are on course to get that, because McLaren, with only one driver, would have needed both Haas's to retire and Ash to win to swing that points back in their favour. So Ashbest goes through the chicane, lap 19. This is how you want a season to end. Oh, and Ashbest, he struggles for grip again coming out of the chicane. Luckily though, he had a bit of a gap. Ashbest still sets the fastest lap somehow, so obviously it didn't affect him too much. So we're now heading into the proverbial home stretch of this particular race, and indeed of this Psgl F1 season. Cliffy dominated the first half of it, Ashbest has dominated the second half of it. It all comes down to this. Lewis struggling for grip in the dirty air of the McLaren. Going, this is tense. This is super tense. I mean, I'm finding it hard to find the words sometimes, because I just get this sense that something is going to happen. But Ashbest is doing what he needs to do, because if he wins the race, then Cliffy's penalty, whether it's removed or not, will be absolutely irrelevant. Cliffy needs to win the race from this position. He hasn't got many laps to pull this around. We have nearly 50 watching. We've absolutely smashed the watch record for this channel. Thank you very much. So Lewis, can he win this race? Unlikely now with that 3-second time penalty. He's just got to keep putting pressure on the McLaren, and Cliffy's got to put pressure on them both. He's got the fresher tyres at the end of the race. Will that make any difference whatsoever? We shall see. Ashbest comes out of the final corner to start lap 21. There's no indication that we're going to get any dry running. The rain's still coming down, although it's light rain of course, and I think it is getting better the grip, and that's why we're seeing faster and faster laps. And XJackLacey has got a time penalty. Let's just see what's happened between him and Lickle. Well, they've had some sort of incident, And then, yeah, it looks like XJackLacey cut the corner by mistake, and he's let Nickel back through as he should. Big C running 4th. You know, it's a decent performance from him. But back to the front, Cliffy now. He's got to use those fresher tyres to effect. He did, I think it was 4 or 5 laps extra on the wets before he pitted. I think 4 or 5. So he's going to have better grip now. And look how close the top 3 are now. So they zoom towards the hairpin. This is more like a Formula 2 race in real life, because I don't think Formula 1 cars could follow like this normally. Lordy Boy is out of the race. The wooden spoon goes to Sauber. Bad times for Sauber. Hopefully better next season. And Lewis struggling for rear grip as we enter the spoon curve. This has been one of the most tense wet races I've ever seen. Cliffy now, he's got to make a move. He's got to get past Lewis and then throw absolutely everything at Ashbest. The Psgl F1 Championship on the line. As we see the Williams, that's Williams of HELLBOY still out on the track, I think. And Cliffy, oh, and it's a pit stop for Lewis. He's got no tyres left. He's got no tyres left. So Cliffy now, it all comes down to this. Would you believe it? The top 2 are going to battle it out for the race win. Ashbest is going to have to try and get those tyres to the end. He's got no choice. He cannot pit. If he pits, he has lost the title. Cliffy will 100% get to the end of the race on this set because there's so much fresher. This is absolutely incredible. You see the Ferris wheel in the background. It's a roller coaster ride indeed for this championship battle. So Cliffy, he knows how to win races. He knows how to overtake. We've seen him do it many times this season. We know that Ashbest has rapidly improved this season in terms of his racecraft. Oh, and they nearly touched there. Lay on the brakes. No damage for Cliffy, thankfully. If he got damage there, that would have been it. Cliffy just about stopping. But that's an indication that Ashbest is really struggling for grip now on the front end. The front tyres get a real pounding at this track at the best of times, let alone tricky mixed conditions like this. So Ashbest vs Cliffy. I think we can agree that whoever wins the championship from here, they would have earned it, no doubt about it. We've not had an incident where they took each other out like Senna and Prost in '91. They are racing from lights to flag. They've had to battle from the 3rd row to get to this position. Big C, Nickel, Lewis. No one can touch them now. Just going to have a quick look at Lewis because he's now catching XJackLacey and Nickel, but we'll go straight back to the front. Ashbest, I said he'd never been under more pressure in his racing career in Psgl, and that was when Lewis was behind him, but now he's got Cliffy right behind him. He can look in the top left corner and he sees 2nd place, Cliffy, my title rival. I've got to keep him behind, because if that penalty is removed, I believe that's the only penalty Cliffy had. Ashbest has none. It can still come down to penalties, you know, but Ashbest has driven immaculately so far in terms of avoiding warnings. Less than a second between these two. Ashbest again, he pitted for those inters a long time before Cliffy did. At first, before Cliffy might have been staying out, maybe with dry conditions, but that never materialised. So Cliffy was merely staying out longer to have fresher grip at the end. Time will tell if that is the tactic that wins him the championship. Lap 23 then. It's in the dirty air, that McLaren. Let's have a quick look at the battle between Nickel. Yeah, look how close. Lewis will have much fresher tyres. Probably the freshest tyres of anybody out on track right now. 23. Oh, Cliffy runs wide at 130R. You don't want to do that. Those curbs are treacherous. Oh, he nearly cuts the corner. He was inches, absolutely inches from having all 4 wheels across that. And that could have been another penalty. Ashbest trying to put the grip down on the main straight, but he is struggling so much for front end grip now. Ashbest, oh look at that, he nearly missed the apex, he just about keeps it on the road. I would love to watch Lewis, XJackLacey and Lickles battle, but I daren't take my eyes off this, because this is the moment, this is where the season is decided. Who will be the champion of PSGL? It has been a topsy-turvy season, but these two have given us an absolute masterclass of tension and racecraft. Because let's be fair, Ashbest and Cliffy, they had to get overtakes done and they've not really made any mistakes. They have proven why they're in this position as the only two who can win the championship. And we've hit now over 50 watches. Wow, that's incredible. I hope you've enjoyed this race. I have been on the edge of my seat from start to finish. You know, wet races can be quite dull, but this, complete opposite. So Cliffy, he is the hunter. He has the fresher tyres. Ashbest, he's a fast gazelle, but he's wounded. He's got tyres which are probably any moment now screaming, no more, no more. But he's keeping it together. He just needs to finish ahead of Cliffy, and any penalties will be irrelevant if he has none himself. Over the line they go. And look at this, Ashbest is having to go defensive. With the slipstream it may have been closer. Lewis has got past XJackLacey incidentally, as you can see from the timing screen on the left hand side. 3 laps to go then of this Japanese Grand Prix in PSGL F1. This is incredible. I really wish Greeny could have been here in the commentary box with me for this. And they're so close through the S section. Oh no, Cliffy almost, you know, nudging Ashbest up the S-bend. Ashbest's tyres, there's probably nothing left. It's like Sebastian Vettel at Bahrain. There is nothing left of those tyres. XJackLacey pits. His tyres are gone. And he's dropping more than likely out of the points. Yellow's in sector 3. Well, we'll ignore that for now because Cliffy is so close. So Ashbest, he can't pit now. As we mentioned earlier, 5-second penalty, and it looks like some of those who did pit for Inters, JD has retired from the race. We've only got 11 runners now, so points nearly for everybody. XJackLacey, well, he's had a topsy-turvy race, and Big C is now on the podium. As I almost forgot about the 7-time champion. How could I forget about him? But we've just been focusing on this, and we've got just over 2 laps to go. Through the chicane they go. Cliffy, he might get that 10-second penalty removed, but oh, and again, he is taking all of the curb. He is risking a penalty every single lap. Less than a second between the top 2. We got yellows on that one, but I think it's going to come down to a mistake from Ashbest. Ashbest, he's hanging on. He's been on those tyres. Oh, and Ashbest, snap of oversteer again. He's got nothing left in those tyres. There is no doubt about that. And the S-bends, it's the worst place to be when you've got no grip in the wet, because you need that grip to get through. But Ashbest, he's holding it together, driving with everything he's got. You know, Cliffy, if he can't get past him, he'll just have to admit that he just couldn't get the job done. Maybe setting out that 1 lap too long, that could be the critical point in terms of strategy. Penultimate lap then of this race. Lewis is rapidly, and I mean rapidly, catching up to Big C, but he has got that time penalty, and I don't believe Big C has any. So Big C still looking good for that 3rd place to finish his season. Iran in 7th at the moment. That'd be a great result to finish his season on. Ashbest nearly runs wide. Cliffy, oh, they're both sliding, and it's getting trickier and trickier. But don't forget, Cliffy's tyres will probably start to go off as well, although he will have still far fresher tyres than Ashbest. So we're heading to the final lap of this race. Cliffy, he's not really close enough at the moment to challenge. Through the final corner they go for the penultimate lap of this race. I do believe Ashbest still has no penalties in this race. Cliffy, it's now or never for the Mercedes driver. He's got to do something. Ashbest struggling through turn 1 again, and now he's got to get, this is the most important now, he's got to get through these S-bends without any incident. And Cliffy trying to close in on him, but even the grip on his side, you can hear them squealing across the tarmac. And we're going to, and Lewis is right on the back of Big C now. Oh, Cliffy went wide slightly, and that's allowed Ashbest to get slightly further away. Ashbest, he's got half a lap to go to win this championship. Through the hairpin he goes onto the brakes. The Honda engine lets out a roar as it comes out of the chicane, and Cliffy is dropped back 1.2 seconds now. Have his tyres gone as well? Has he pushed them so hard because of his constant pursuit? And oh, Ashbest! Oh, he nearly lost it out of the sprint curve, and he saved it. You saw him spinning, and he saves it again. He saves it again. That was nearly game over for Ashbest, but Ashbest goes through 130R for the final time. Through the chicane, the Ferris wheel spinning. DRS enabled. We're in dry conditions right on the final lap. Ashbest will head for the line. And Ashbest is the PSGL F1 champion. He's done it. Ashbest is the champion. Cliffy, what a battle we've seen today. Unbelievable. And right at the death, Lewis going for a move around the outside of Big C at the chicane. Surely not. It's a penalty for Lewis. He's not going to get it. Fighting to the line. Big C, he's not going to let him get it. And over the line they go. Wow, dramatic stuff. And Lickelblock's eventful race he's had, and he's going to finish 5th in the end. And Oogie Azeem, somehow he got the strategy right. He's going to finish 6th. But let's go on boards with Ashbest, the new champion. And Cliffy, well, penny for his faults. He had that 10-second penalty, of course, but that'll be removed. But that's irrelevant. Aaron just got a 20-second time penalty, but I think that's just going over the line anyway, so that didn't. Well, surely that will be removed. But Ashbest, here he is then, the champion of PSGL F1 this season. What a finale! You know, I made that trailer and I hyped it up, but that was even better than I expected. Incredible final race to the season. I hope you enjoyed that. That was absolutely fantastic. We're going to have the podium, of course, but we're going to enjoy Ashbest's moment. Jamie was the champion last season, but we have a new champion. For McLaren Honda, Ashbest 122 has reached the top of the mountain. Cliffy, well, he has played his part in this season. We have to give him all the credit in the world. He has performed spectacularly at times this season, but you could say arguably it turned at Silverstone when he retired. That in the end is the difference. The championship decided unbelievably, tied for points, but Ashbest, with his 7th win of the season, takes the title. So we're going to get the podium, and there it is, Ashbest punching the air. He must be bouncing off the walls in his bedroom right now. Lifts that trophy, celebrating with Big C. It's quite fitting that Big C on the podium with two of the new generation. Ashbest celebrating with Cliffy. Cliffy, I'm sure he'll be back next season for another go, but Ashbest is your new PSGL F1 champion. We're going to hear from them shortly. And here is our confirmed result. Ashbest takes the victory. Cliffy 2nd, pushed him all the way in that amazing final stint. Big C takes 3rd, one of his better wet qualifying performances we've seen, race performances rather. Lewis in 4th, just couldn't get the tyres to run, but Haas confirmed themselves as 2nd place in the Constructors' Championship, so a great season for Lewis and Lickel in terms of that. Oogie is 6th, AMS is 7th, XJackLacey is 8th, Aaron is 9th, and Paudie takes the final championship point. Maxi, disappointing end to his season, but he will have the consolation of being one half of the Constructors' Champions, as indeed will Cliffy, so they can look back on that at least. So, we're going to wait for the countdown, and then we're going to speak to the podium. So, just bear with me, the dreaded blue screen, so give me a moment. And stick around, because we've got something special planned to see out this final race stream. Yeah, bear with me, guys. Hopefully one day I won't have to do this anymore, but it is definitely the difference when you have someone here to do the invites for you. But yeah, it's been a while since I've had to do that. Right, we're going to wait for the podium to arrive, and we have Big C already. So hello to you, Big C.
Yeah, hello. Yep. Congratulations to Ash, really. I saw the mini map, so yeah, it looked quite intense. So.
It certainly was, and we will get the words of the two title contenders, indeed, who have just given us an absolute classic to end the season on. And we will speak to Aaron, who had a great result to finish this season as well. And we're going to have a special treat to end the season.
Yeah, shall I start, or shall I wait until title contenders come in?
Yeah, just going to wait for Ash and Cliffy.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. Just while we wait, I'd like to say a massive thanks to you, Mark, for commentating all season. I think you've done an absolutely phenomenal job, and you know, the F1 League wouldn't be the same without the coverage that you give to all the viewers tuning in today. So, thank you for all your efforts.
Excellent stuff. I really appreciate your words, Aaron. Right then, so we're just going to wait for Cliffy, and then we're just I'm getting reports that I'm not live still, so I'm just going to double check. And yes, I am.
Yeah, it's fine for me.
Right, I think everyone's here. So this is our final podium of the season, and we're going to first speak to the man of the moment. Ashbest, you are the new Psgl F1 champion. Your initial reaction?
Lots of shock and so much happiness, because I finally achieved a goal that I've always wanted to achieve, a zero to hero from F6 to F1. It's been amazing, and well, I have no words.
Excellent. And Cliffy, well, you've had a phenomenal season, and you threw absolutely everything at Ashbest, but in the end he managed to keep those tyres alive. But you must be pretty proud of your season, even if it hasn't been the outcome you wanted.
Yeah, man. Congrats to Ash. Second half of the season, he just blew F1 away, and you know, the gap I had at the midpoint, I thought I'd be all right towards the end, but certain situations and circumstances obviously changed that, and you know, I'm not going to sit here and make plenty of excuses. You know, as I said, Ash done amazing, and you know, congrats to him, because he's been absolutely phenomenal all season. So, congrats Ash, and enjoy the championship.
And finishing third place and on a high for Ferrari is the 7-time champion Big C. Probably didn't expect that podium after qualifying, but you must be delighted with that.
No, well, I mean, when it comes to the wet weather, it's always really difficult. You know, there's a lot of fast drivers, obviously, you know, Ash and Cliffy, you know, MaxiLucaGT5, etc. But yeah, I mean, to take a podium in the wet conditions was amazing. But you know, it's not about my result or my pace. It's just, you know, another podium. I just want to say congratulations to Ash. You know, obviously, you know, I've had a lot of titles and success in this league, so it's great to see, you know, someone who's gone from F6. You know, Ashbest was an F6 on F1 2016 to be, you know, the best driver on the site now. Let's be honest. You know, the form he's in, the pace he's showing. So yeah, big congrats to him, and I'm proud, that Ash, obviously came through the Psgl system and won the title, and obviously commiserations to Cliffy. I thought Cliffy was outstanding throughout the season. He's very mature, obviously. His racing was fantastic. In the wet he's great, and yeah, he would have been the sailing champion. And yeah, big commiserations to him. Hopefully, these two next season can fight for the title and put on a great show of games. I think both are great wheel racers. They're nice guys, and they're great ambassadors for the Psgl League. So yeah, congrats to both, and yeah, glad the season's over personally. So thank you.
Well, we're also joined by Aaron, who makes his final appearance in F1, and he had a great result in the points again. So Aaron, your final thoughts on your F1 career for the time being?
I think I've had a great time in this league, and it was emotional coming into this final race. Obviously, being at Suzuka, where I've won 2 titles in the past, in similar title showdowns as well. So I know how it feels to be on the winning end and also on the losing end. But I think both of you guys can hold your head up high this season, no matter where you finished, because I think you both drove terrifically well, and it will go down as one of the classic seasons in Psgl F1 history. So thanks to Cliffy and Ashbest for making it what it is. For myself, to get P6 in my last race here, couldn't be more delighted. It matches my best result of the season, and I think I used all of my experience to really negotiate those tough weather conditions. It was strange that I got a 20-second penalty right at the end because of yellow flags. I think Oogie ran out of fuel to the line, so it was good to have P6 right at the death.
That is absolutely brilliant. Right, so just going back to Ashbest, obviously you're the champion now, but you've got a hell of a lot of competition for next season. First of all, are you carrying on in F1 next season?
Definitely. I don't see where else to go really, and being so young, I have so much time, and being in school lets you have so much time. Yeah, I'll be staying here for a long while, and will be defending my title next year.
Right then, so we're gonna give the new champion and anyone who's left in the lobby a little special treat here. So hopefully everybody readies up and we can get going. We're gonna have Ashbest have a sort of victory lap, and the rest of the grid are going to do some donuts, and then we're going to end the stream there. So we're just waiting for them to all ready up. Just a bit of fun to end the season on.
Nobody wants to join in.
Now, I just want to say that Big C indirectly gave me this idea when he decided to do some donuts right in the middle of a race a couple of seasons ago. So
it might be best to kick the others out of the chat.
Yeah, I agree.
The lobby, to be honest. So it's just Ash.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, so if the rest of you... Well, we'll keep Cliffy in here as well.
Kick the rest.
Should I try and start kicking then?
Yeah. Come on, stop the... Change the track. Come on, son. Yeah.
There we go. Everyone choose your cars again. Okay, Aaron, you can spectate that.
No.
Goodbye, everyone.
Yeah.
Okay. Goodbye, everyone.
Yeah, here we go. Right.
Okay, that was easy, thanks. Okay.
Yeah. I thought you were kicking people out of the chat.
Is Big C coming?
No. It's not my moment.
Alright, let's go.
Luca coming in for a bite.
Wait a minute. Aaron, I'm kicking you, I'm warning you.
No, don't.
It's Aaron's final race.
Yes.
Oh, fair enough. Shall we get Nick in here then?
No, just get on with it. Get on with it, mate.
Yeah, we'll end the stream.
Big C, there's no need for that.
Yeah, so for those of you still left in the stream, let us know what your favourite moments of the season were, and what your opinions are on what you just saw, that dramatic season finale, and also who you're expecting to challenge Ashbest for the championship next season. Very interesting to know. #AskVenom, and we're gonna have a little bit of fun to end the season right here with Ashbest and Cliffy, the two drivers who really lit up this championship. Lewis, W03 and Big C, can't forget their contributions with excellent victories early in the season. But we're going to see them come out and we're going to turn off the HUD and enjoy the final moments of this PSGL F1 season. And don't forget, last season we are going to have the next season of PSGL F1 on May the 7th, right here on GamingAlimonda, as Ashbest pulls out of the garage to have a little victory lap. So, but I just want to say a big thank you to the PSGL admins, the league admins for PSGL F1, and every single driver who has raced in this league this season. You have all contributed to a fantastic season which has been enjoyed by everybody. Aaron coming out, and some lawn mowing from Cliffy there, wiping out the sign. Good fun there from Cliffy. Cliffy, he will certainly be a contender next season. As Ashbest does one last lap of this Suzuka circuit, he will remember this race for a very, very long time indeed. But Aaron, his final time in PSF1, you will see him racing in F4. He'll still be around. He, to steal his catchphrase, will still be one of the most experienced drivers on the grids. But that's best. He's going to finish this lap and then give us some nice donuts to finish us off. And yes, miraculous weather improvement, as JPTV points out. JP, I need to stop calling you JPTV, but it rolls off the tongue nicely. So Ashbest running wide, having some fun. Cliffy still doing some donuts. 3 race wins this season. He can be very proud of his efforts.
Oh no.
So we're going to see Ashbest do some donuts in a moment, with the crowd rising to applaud the new PSGL F1 champion. This is going to be a new tradition for each end of the season. And yes, it's not the most serious esports moment you've ever seen, but I think after the long, hard season that these drivers have all done, I think they deserve a little bit of casual fun here. As Aaron goes off, we're going to watch this for a little bit longer, and then we're going to call it a night. As Aaron spins his splendid yellow and black Renault about for the final time in this league. The points master, as Cliffy goes behind. Hopefully we will see all 3 on the start straight, having fun with one another right outside the pit lane. As that's probably not, to be fair, Aaron.
Damage is on, guys.
Well, they don't need the wings anymore, they don't need the engines, they don't need the gearboxes. They are all done for this season. A well-earned break for these drivers. Ashbest probably for game, but we'll get our final moment as Ashbest celebrates his title win with the driver who pushed him so hard. As Cliffy blasts his car into a million pieces. It'll be rebuilt next season for a new set of drivers, as Aaron carries on. And we're going to finish with Aaron doing some donuts at turn 1, and then we will finish with Ashbest, assuming Aaron remembers how to do donuts, and indeed he does. That's perfect. The crowd going wild, lifting up their barons and starting a "please don't go" chant in the crowd. But unfortunately he will be. So let's have a look at Ashbest on the start finish straight, his team celebrating wildly. And we are going to end the stream here. Thank you very much for watching, the most audience ever on this channel, and we will see you in a month's time for the start of the new season. A big congratulations to the top 3, and of course to the new PSGL F1 champion Ashbest. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.